Good evening, everyone. It's March 18th, 2012. March 18th. September 18th, 2012. Notice of this meeting stating the date, place, and time has been disseminated as required under the Open Public Meeting Acts, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Clerk, please conduct the flag and prayer.
God of the universe, look thou with favor upon these here assembled, and bestow thy guidance upon the members of the governing body in their deliberations. This we ask in thy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. In event of an emergency, the proper method for exiting the council chambers is through the 3 doors in the rear of the room. Occupants should proceed down the staircase out the front door and move away from the area of the front steps. Any member of the public wishing to speak during the public comment session at the end of the meeting, please sign in on the white sheets provided in the front of the room. Please turn off all cell phones. If you must make a call, please leave the chambers to do so. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Colbus.
You have any guys from the booth who would come up? We have another electronic.
Here.
Mr. Colibus has a problem.
Armstead. Here. Crosby.
Here.
Zadowski. Here. Sheehy. Here. Yemakaitis.
Here.
Frazier.
Here.
Kaczynski.
Here.
Mr. Moore.
Here.
Except yours.
Did you plug the computer in? You charged?
You're off too, Joe.
Anybody from the booth can come up and take a look at our microphones? I apologize. We'll move into, it won't be recorded. Here we go.
Okay.
You fixed it.
That's it.
When you push the button.
Thank you.
I'm not turning this off.
Really got to fine tune this here. Okay. I'd like to ask the mayor and Mrs. Sadowski and Mrs. Yamakaitis to come up to make a presentation for the Pulaski Day Parade. Mrs. Yamakaitis?
Mr. President, we'd like to also ask Susan Piatek-Miskowitz, our Grand Marshal for Linden, Maria Gabashevich, our Miss Polonia. She cannot be here this evening, but her sister Amelia will be standing in her place. And Alexa Lee Domenico, our Junior Miss Polonia. Please come up.
Okay, this is a resolution honoring Dr. Suzanne Piatek-Miskowitz as the 2012 Marshal of the Linden contingent to the Pulaski Parade. Whereas Dr. Suzanne Piatek-Miskowitz has been selected to serve as the 2012 Marshal of the Linden Pulaski Day Parade Committee and will represent thousands of Linden residents of Polish descent in the annual Pulaski Day Parade in New York City on October 7th, 2012. Whereas Dr. Miskowitz, the daughter of Charlotte Teresa Cardell Piontek and the late Walter Piontek, was raised in Linden and was educated in the Linden public school system. Whereas Dr. Miskowitz has deep roots in Linden's Polish community, including association with St. Teresa's Church, where she taught CCD classes and is extremely proud of her Polish heritage. And whereas Dr. Miskevich holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary education, a Master's of Arts as a reading specialist, and a doctorate in education with a specialization in educational leadership, has been an educator for over 30 years and is currently the principal of Leroy Gordon Cooper School in Old Bridge. And whereas Dr. Miskevich has also proudly volunteered to serve her community in capacities such as President of the Friends of the Linden Library, Vice President of the Linden Board of Education, Second Vice President of the Linden Public Library Board, and the Commissioner on the Zoning Board, and is a member of the Bayway Complex Citizens Advisory Panel. Whereas Dr. Miskevich is married to Raymond Miskevich and are the parents of Michelle Domenico and her husband Ron, Lisa De Silva, and her husband John, Raymond Miskevich, and his wife Alexandra. She is also the proud grandmother of Kellyanne and Alexa Domenico, and Ave Maria De Silva. And whereas it is a proper and fitting that Dr. Suzanne Piątek Miskevich be recognized for her contribution to Linden and to its Polish community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and the council of the city of Linden that they do hereby congratulate Dr. Suzanne Piątek Miskevich on being selected as the 2012 Linden Marshal, and be it further resolved that the resolution be entered in the minutes of the council of the city of Linden, and that a copy hereof be presented to Dr. Suzanne Piątek Miskevich in recognition of the foregoing. Congratulations.
Our next resolution is going to be for our Miss Polonia, Maria Gabrashevska. She's not available this evening. She's away at college, but her sister will be receiving the resolution for her. So, Amelia, would you please come up? Whereas Maria Gabrashevska was recently crowned Linden Miss Polonia 2012 and will be representing the city of Linden at the annual Pulaski Day Parade in New York City on October 7, 2012. And whereas Maria Gabrashevska recently graduated summa cum laude from Kane University, is currently enrolled as a graduate student in political science at the Florida International University. And whereas Maria Gabrashevska, as part of the Ronald E. McNair Post-Bachelorette Achievement Program, designed and conducted an original research project, which was later presented at the University of Delaware's National McNair Research Conference. And whereas Maria Gabrashevska, as a result of her academic achievements, was inducted into Phi Sigma Alpha, the National Political Science Honor Society. And whereas Maria Gabrashevska, in her spare time, enjoys singing and playing instruments, which include, but are not limited to, the violin, saxophone, and piano. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and the council of the city of Linden that they do hereby congratulate Maria Gabrashevska on being selected as the 2012 Linden Miss Polonia, and be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the minutes of the council of the city of Linden, and a copy hereof be presented to Maria Gabrashevska in recognition of this prestigious honor. Okay. This is her sister Amelia receiving it for her.
I'd like to take an opportunity to tell everybody how proud I am to announce that Councilman Sadowski is the president of the Pulaski Day Parade.
I think I'm going to let Michelle read it. She does a better job than me.
All right, our next resolution is honoring Alexa Lee Domenico as the 2012 Junior Miss Polonia of Linden, contingent to the Pulaski Parade. Whereas Alexa Lee Domenico was recently crowned Linden Junior Miss Polonia 2012 and will be representing the city of Linden at the annual Pulaski Day Parade in New York City on October 7, 2012. And whereas Alexa Lee Domenico will be following in the footsteps of her mother, Michelle, who was the 1986 Miss Polonia. And whereas Alexa Lee Domenico is particularly proud of her Polish heritage and Polish traditions, especially celebrating Wilia with her great-grandmother, Teresa Cardell Piatek. And whereas Alexa Lee Domenico has participated in many volunteer activities, including the Peer Leadership Program, Rebel, a drug and alcohol awareness program, Friends of the Linden Library, and tutoring students at Cooper School. And whereas Alexa Lee Domenico is also an avid equestrian, amassing over 300 trophies and ribbons in various competitions and shows. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and the Council of the City of Linden that they hereby congratulate Alexa Lee Domenico on being selected as the 2012 Linden Junior Miss Polonia, and be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the minutes of the Council of the City of Linden, and a copy hereof be presented to Alexa Lee Domenico in recognition of this prestigious honor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd love to. I've invited all of the councilmen and councilwomen to march with us, and I've heard from some of you, but not all of you. My email address is suem908@aol.com, and you can email me at any time, and I'd love to have you march with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor.
I'd just like to encourage all Linden residents to attend the Pulaski Day Parade, marching down Fifth Avenue in New York City on October 7th. Every year I make it, and I look forward to walking with the Grand Marshal of the Linden contingent, which is Dr. Miskowitz, and this year it'll be Miss Polonia Maria and Miss Junior Polonia Alexa. And again, it's a proud moment for the Polish community, but it's also a proud moment for America, because General Pulaski helped us achieve our freedom and was killed in the American Revolution. So if you want to have an enjoyable day, please come down. St. Teresa's committee sponsors the event. Buses will be leaving from St. Teresa's October 7th in the morning. What time is it? 10 to 10:30, and again, we'll be marching down Fifth Avenue, and Linden always fields one of the largest contingents in the parade. So please come down, enjoy the day, and be Polish for the day, whether you're Polish or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming all. I'd like to move into, ask for a motion for the approval of minutes for August 21st, 2012, public meeting. Motion, please.
I make a motion for approval of the minutes and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. I'd like to recognize and acknowledge the members of the Law Explorers, Post 628 and Troop 72 Westfield, that are here in attendance at our council meeting as part of the program to observe how government operates. Gentlemen, ladies, would you stand? Thank you for coming. If you have any questions at the end of the meeting, you could sign up and ask any questions you may have. Thank you. We'll move on to ordinance on hearings. This is the date and time established for the public hearing for ordinance on hearing. Ordinance 5644.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 15, Streets and Sidewalk as follows. Delete Section 15-3, Reserved. Add Section 15-3, Failure to obtain permits, enforcement penalties.
Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to remove anything from the agenda for the ordinances? Motion, please.
Mr. President, I ask that the hearing be closed
Excuse
and...
me.
Oh,
The
just
ordinance has been
5644.
properly published and posted, and we have not received any written communications on it.
Is there anybody who wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Seeing none? Motion?
I ask that the hearing be closed and ordinance 5644 be adopted, and I seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5645.
Bond ordinance authorizing the acquisition of various items of capital equipment for the Public Works Department and appropriating $169,400, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $160,930 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof. A, leaf vacuum truck, $60,500. B, mowing machine, $36,300. C, hot tar sealer, $72,600.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anybody who wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Would you please come up?
I could either turn my backs toward you and speak on this, or I could turn this around. Which would you like?
We'll have somebody turn it around. We don't. There goes our insurance. Every bit helps.
I try to do my part for the city. Pat Hero, Wheat Chief Road. Now, I already commented on these last month. However, I looked again at the mowing machine. $36,300. Now, just before the meeting, I was at the library and I went on eBay. And at eBay, you can get, for two PZ 6030 zero-turn lawnmowers and equipment, $15,750. That's how much they cost. Now, a mowing machine for $36,300 must be like the Cadillac, Mercedes-Benz, BMW of mowing machines. How come we're spending so much on mowing machines?
Mr. Fakiti?
And that's machine, by the way, not machines. Hi.
The machine that we're buying, or planning on buying, is much larger than the ones that we are using now. But the problem that we have is some of the bigger parks, such as 10th Ward or Sunnyside, any with large areas, it takes that much longer with the smaller machine. This is a much bigger machine. It'll cut our time, and we really need the time with all the extra work with the houses that we've been getting lately. That's why we're going for a bigger machine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
Council President, I'd like to close the hearing on ordinance 5645 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5647.
Bond ordinance
46.
46, a bond ordinance providing for an appropriation of $72,600 for acquisition of asphalt for the Public Works Department and authorizing the issuance of $68,970 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Please come up.
Now, I understand we do have potholes in the city of Linden. However, $72,600 for asphalt, isn't that a large amount of money? Thank you.
Mr. Vakiti, can you help us with that?
It's really not a large amount of asphalt.
We also do small projects where we pave, say, a dead-end street. This year, we did the pump area around the new gas pumps down at the municipal garage, and believe it or not, those potholes do add up to quite a
It's
bit.
really not a lot of money, the price of asphalt.
Any further questions, Mr. Sharpie?
Yes, in asphalt, Washington Avenue needs some asphalt. It hasn't been done in over 3 years. Would any of this be used for Washington Avenue? Yes or no?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shi. Any further questions on the asphalt? Motion, please.
Council President, I'd like to close the hearing on ordinance 5646 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5647.
An ordinance providing an appropriation of $278,300 for acquisition of a street sweeper for the Public Works Department and authorizing the issuance of $264,385 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Would you please come up?
In the interest to keep the public from being thoroughly bored and you, the council, being thoroughly bored with me, I'm just going to address my issue on this, but it also applies to 48 and 49. Basically, I understand, I've been speaking to some people, and I understand that there is a lot of old equipment at the Public Works Department, and perhaps these items are needed. Having said that, however, I'd like to also make a recommendation that they do their very best down at DPW to treat the equipment properly and make sure that it's maintained properly because, it is city equipment, and I know sometimes if it's, it's not your own thing, maybe you're not inclined to use it as much, but that could certainly figure into an employee evaluation as to how city equipment is treated, because this is a heck of a lot of money we're asking the taxpayers to spend, and I don't think we should have the taxpayers spend any more money than is absolutely necessary. So I just want that to be on record. Thanks.
Mr. Sheehy, have we instituted a program for servicing the vehicles?
Yes.
Thank you.
Within the recent year, our maintenance program has improved tremendously. And believe you me, I've been watching over these trucks. Like here, we're getting a street sweeper. What happens with the street sweeper, the back end has so many moving parts and the tanks rot away. And then what we did was we took one of the street sweepers, we took the back end off at the sweeper part that was wore out, and we put a brine machine on the back of it. And the other sweeper, the year before that was wore out, we put a salter on the back of it. So we are keeping close eye on what's going on there. And I must say myself that the maintenance program down there has improved a lot. It's really weird how it's improved with less supervisors, and it's really, they're doing a hell of a lot better job taking care of our equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing on ordinance 5647 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Armstead,
Yes.
Cosby Hurling,
Yes.
Sadowski,
Yes.
Sheehy,
Yes.
Yemakaitis,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Kaczynski,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 5648.
Bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $278,300 for acquisition of a sanitation truck with plow for the Public Works Department and authorizing the issuance of $264,385 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the ordinance?
Motion.
Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Council President, I'd like to make a motion to remove 5648 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus,
Yes.
Koziel.
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Sheehy.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Kaczynski.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 5649.
Bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $207,900 for acquisition of a 15-yard dump truck for the Public Works Department and authorizing the issuance of $197,505 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Seeing none, motion, please.
Council President, I'd like to close the hearing on 5649 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus.
Yes.
Koziel.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Sheehy.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Kaczynski.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 5650.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 2, Administration, Article 1, General, Section 2-7, Administrative Organization shall be amended as follows. Delete Section 2-7.1 in its entirety and add new Section 2-7.1, Creation of Committees, Appointment of Members. Delete Section 2-7.2 in its entirety and add new Section 2-7.2, Committees of City Council.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication on this?
No, sir.
Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Would you please come up?
I would too, Council President.
Council President, myself as well. Okay.
Before I say anything, I just want to ask.
Yes. I'll take you up on it. Thank you.
Could you please address the ordinance?
Okay. I talked about this last month, and once again, we're back. It seemed as though last month it was like going to be a tie vote on this. I'm still in favor of keeping the Personnel and Finance Committee the Personnel and Finance Committee. I know it's a big committee, but as I said, that's what I think needs to be done. The one thing that does reassure me, though, is the last time this issue came to a vote, the mayor vetoed it. And I know the mayor would like to be consistent in his policies. And so I certainly hope that I can leave this room with the assurance that the mayor is going to veto this ordinance too. Because if he did it once before, there has been nothing to come to our attention about why this was, a bad idea. The mayor thought it was a bad idea before, which is why he vetoed it. And so if he thought it was a bad idea the first time, it's still a bad idea, and therefore he should do what he did the first time. Thank you. That's if the vote's a tie, and personally, I hope this gets voted down. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cosby Hurling?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment on this because we've been talking about this since last year when I was seated as a council person, and there are quite a few challenges with personnel and finance being combined and managing the abundance of personnel matters and, the important financial matters of our city. We have a revised committee scheduled from August, and our council president actually created an ad hoc personnel policy review committee. And this committee is actually headed by Councilwoman Yamakaitis. Members are Councilman Kalabis and Councilman Sadowski. They've already had a meeting. They've only been in existence for like 2 weeks. This is one of the issues. A lot of the things that were personnel policies that were sent to personnel and finance as it exists were set to the side. They weren't looked at, you know, and we have to wait 3 and 4 months. Nothing happens overnight. I know this. However, some things that need to be addressed are falling by the wayside. Council President created this committee as an ad hoc because there was a disconnect from the personnel and finance. I'm going to ask the rest of the council, if the council president sees there's a need, we should go ahead and adopt this ordinance. In addition to that, Mrs. Hero said that the mayor vetoed it. The mayor offered not to veto it if he were allowed to be a voting member, which in our form of government, he cannot be a voting member, but there's a need, and I think that he saw that need when he made that suggestion or recommendation. He says, I won't veto it if I'm allowed to sit as a voting member on the committee, which unfortunately, because he's the mayor, he can't vote, but he still can get to attend the meetings. This is important to us. We need to be aggressive with our personnel policies so we can provide efficient and better services to the citizens of Linden, and we also need to be focused more on our finances. And together, we've seen it's just not working. Thank you.
Councilman Armstead?
Yes, Mr. President. Well, since we have a group of young people in the audience, maybe we'll take this time to give you a little lesson in our form of government. In Linden, here in Linden, we operate under what is called the Wildwood Act. It's a strong council, weak mayor form of government. And for many years, people who've run for office, run for the mayor's office, they would select a council president, and that council president, under our form of government, has the power and authority to assign people to committees. So it would behoove anybody who ran for mayor to pick a council president that he could count on, who would be able to appoint and assign people to committees that would be able to advance certain agendas. Okay, now here in Linden, in 2010, I decided to run for mayor. And I chose Council President James Moore to run with me as my council president, because I knew I would need James Moore to be my council president to help move the agenda that I felt would be best for Linden. Unfortunately, I didn't win the race for mayor, but my running mate won the council president seat. And what that has done, it has allowed me to have a direct access to those committees that are what I feel are very important. In fact, one of the most powerful committees in town is the Personnel and Finance Committee. Now, there are some who just cannot come to grips with the idea that Derek Armstead is now a Personnel and Finance Chairman. My running mate, James Moore, appointed me to that position, and the fact that I lost the mayor's seat, it wasn't exactly a loss because my running mate won, and I feel as though, to a certain extent, we won. Okay? So, you're going to hear a lot about the need to address things in a different way, but believe me, you're getting a lesson in politics tonight. You're going to see, as we go down this dais, you're going to see a certain group of us vote against it, and you're going to find a certain group who votes with it. Now, the beauty of government is that there are checks and balances. And under our form of government, although the mayor doesn't have a vote, for this ordinance to pass, you need a 6 to 5 vote majority. However, if you don't have what is called a supermajority, which you need 8 votes in the affirmative of this ordinance, the mayor is allowed to veto it. And he has done it in the past, as Mrs. Hero has mentioned, because this is not the first time that this particular ordinance has come across our desk. It has come on several different occasions, okay? So you're going to see that, again, it's going to be a vote that's going to go basically almost like, I would say, a party line almost, if you can call it that. But in any event, this is a civics lesson, a lesson in politics. So when you go home this evening or tomorrow when you go to school, look up the Wildwood Act and look up the Faulkner Act in government. Maybe you can understand, look up checks and balances in government, veto powers, things of that nature. Again, I just want to impress upon the people that this is nothing more than an attempt to take that authority that has been vested in some people in this governing body by virtue of an election that occurred in 2010, where again, I didn't win the mayor's race, but my good colleague won the council presidency seat, and it gives me a lot of, I have a lot more leverage, some leverage that I never thought I dare dream to have in this governing body. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Brown?
Thank you. I support this bill for a number of reasons, but it's quite simple. Just for two reasons. Is that the two most important issues, like I said before, is your personnel and the finance issue with the city of Linden. It's just now, with the way that the budget's going and the tax increases, a matter of ratables coming in and revenue, is that we need greater focus on our budget and we need greater focus on our personnel issues. Many of us know that contract negotiations are coming up, so we need to prepare for that. It's just a simple matter of having, rather than having one committee do both, have two separate committees, one focus on your personnel issues, the other one focus on your finance. That's why I'm supporting the bill.
Mr. Sharby?
Paul Sharby, residing at...
Council President,
Mr. Frazier? Yes.
I'm sorry, sir, go right ahead. I'd like to be heard also.
Paul Sharby, residing at 315 2nd Avenue here in Linden. I'm in favor of keeping it the same. And probably next year, this great city could change this form of government. And the reason is, it's too big. So here in this city, if we get 4,320 signatures, we can change this form of government. And this Faulkner, this act, the city is running on 1910. You know, this was enforced in 1910, and it's time to change the city of Linden. And it should be in the hands of the mayor, and as it has been, and like Mr. Armstead said, it should remain the same until we here in the city change the form of government to make it smaller. With 5 wards, 2 councilmen at large, with the mayor in charge of the whole shebang.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Councilman Frazier?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to speak with regards to 5650. Presently, the Finance and Personnel Committee has been in existence for a number of years. I myself presently on it right now, my second time in all my 15 years of service with the city. And quite frankly, during those years of service, I never found any serious fault with it because there was always avenues in which, if you had a problem, to address it. And presently, there exists that today. To create another committee, I think, is redundant. We have too many committees as they are right now. This committee focuses very, very well, and with regards to the personnel section brought up, at each meeting, and we have access to our labor attorney, personnel attorney, who's very astute and knows what is going on and addresses us and attends meetings with us at all times. So I think if any council person has problems with either section, there's always an avenue in which they can address it. And they have. But right now, to split it up, I think is redundant, and I don't believe that it's going to accomplish anything but just more adversities. Therefore, I do not support this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Frazier. Just to sum up here, I think what Councilwoman Crosby Hurley said, I have the power to establish ad hoc committees when there's a problem. And recently did one with policy and planning, and so to go to this draconian way of running the government and changing the system and how the voters voted for my powers, I'm against it. So I ask for a motion.
Council President.
Oh, John. Sheehy? Sure.
Good evening. My name is John Principato. I live at 1706 Westover Road in the 10th Ward. You know, I don't really have a view on this because I'm not privy to what goes on behind the scenes, but I'm sure that it takes a lot to, you know, to handle personnel and finance. It takes a lot to do both, but I'm not sure what's going to work better. But what was interesting, Mr. Armstead, what you said about having the power to make decisions, and because you ran for mayor, and I know you a long time, and I personally like you, but what you said was very telling, and it's very transparent to me, and I hope it's transparent to everyone else, that there's a lot of power struggles that go on in this city.
Absolutely.
And I think it's time that the struggle for power ends and we all work together. And I think that what you said was now you have more power than anybody else on this council, which is, it's very interesting, you know, and I don't think that it's a good thing. I think that we all need to work together and not work against each other. And one person or two people shouldn't have any more power than anybody else.
John,
It's collusion.
John, what I think he meant to say is that all the council people have access to me, and my door is open, and whatever comes up.
That was not my interpretation.
Council President,
thank you.
if you will, let
Mr. Armstead.
me help him out a little bit here. Okay. Well, no, Mr. Principato is a member of the city for quite a while, and he has definitely been a beneficiary of the political structure in this town. So let's very well. We're not going to get into the details, but the bottom line is you're very familiar. You're very familiar with the process of running a council president, and that council president who sets the committees in this town. I mean, it's been that way for a long time, Mr. Principato. You know that.
Mr. Armstead, I think everyone here deserves to hear exactly what you mean by what you said. Because I take that as a personal attack.
Well, take it for what you want. Okay?
Well, why don't you explain?
The bottom line is this.
I had to take a test for my job.
Fantastic.
Period, end of story.
The bottom line is this. James Moore is the council president. You're familiar with the process. The process calls for the mayor running with a council president. He runs with that council president so that council president can establish committees that he feels are necessary to advance the city. Now, I have some ideas that I think will benefit this city and that will advance it in a certain way. Council President Moore is my friend, and Council President Moore feels very much the same way as I do on some of these issues as to how we should advance the city. Council President Moore has assigned me to be the chairman of Personnel and Finance in the city. It is the most powerful committee in the city. You can't dispute that. It is what it is. The bottom line is this.
I don't know much about it.
There are some on this dais, there is someone in this governing body who would like to take that power away and have it for themselves. Now, be it whether that they would like to hire their family members a little faster, I don't know what the rationale behind their reasoning is, but I'm sure it's not a good one. And I think the way this thing is set up, the way this governing body is set up, with the checks and balances that are in place, this thing is working well, okay? And I don't see the need to change I don't see the need to change the way the Personnel and Finance Committee is run, because some would like to advance their agendas and their policies. Thank you.
What you said was that you had the power because the council president won his position, his elected position, you losing your elected position, that you were basically saying you were in a better position than the mayor.
No, I'm not.
And you said you had more power than anybody else on here. I think personally, like I said, all I want, I pay a lot of taxes in this town, and all I want is everyone to work together, That's all. That's all I'm asking. Is that too much to ask? Thank you.
We are working together. We have a system of checks and balances.
Mr. Armstead. Mr. Sheehy.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to simplify it for the Boy Scouts and the people at home. Like Mr. Frazier said, these committees, we've been doing it, I would say, forever. As long as I know, the Personnel and Finance Committee has been one committee. It does take a lot, but they do work together. The problem here is it's basically, I would call it bullying, where with politics, you need 6 votes to get anything passed up here. So the party that's in power doesn't like the way the Personnel and Finance Committee is set up. They don't like the way the council president is elected by the people. So since they have the majority of votes, they're just going to bully you and just do what they like to do to benefit themselves. That's just my opinion, and you'll see it when you vote right up here what is actually going to happen. They don't like the way the committee is structured, so they have the power to change it, so they're going to change it. And I hope to God the mayor vetoes it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cosby Hurley.
I just wanted to make one simple point, just so we're clear. The original ordinance that was on several months ago was structured a little differently. This ordinance does not take any power from our council president. He still selects the committee members as he has done in August. He said he does ad hoc committees if there's a problem. There is a problem when it comes to personnel policy, and he created this committee. I don't want to be on a committee. I have enough work already. I'm confident that Councilwoman Yamakaitis, as the chairman, and the 2 members can handle all of the personnel matters that are set before them. There are many. Without going too deep, there are a lot of things that the residents have concerns about, the employees have concerns about, and the department managers and council members have concerns about. The council president, I know, originally didn't support it because he thought he would be losing his ability to make the appointments to the committee. This ordinance doesn't do that. He still has the power, as he's already created the committee. So basically, we have an ad hoc committee who's going to do the work of the Personnel and Finance Committee, but they're going to still stay closely knit so that, you know, whatever the power is, it'll be. And for Councilman Sheehy, who is actually a Democrat, I just take offense to when you talk about the party, because we actually belong to the same party
Please
now.
don't-
Unless you
please-
change
please
your
don't call
party
me a
affiliation,
Democrat.
well, I would encourage you to change your party.
I was thrown out of the party, so do your history.
Mr. Hudak, could you give us an interpretation of this ordinance?
No interpretation. The ordinance reads its language itself as the ordinance that was council asked for some months ago. By its terms, it reads how the committees are appointed and what the new committee is.
The council,
Majority would be, members would be appointed by majority, use the president would pick the chairman of the committees.
right, so it's not exactly as Councilwoman Rashana Cosby Hurley indicated. It's the council, majority of the council would make the committees.
Correct.
Thank you. And Mr. Brown.
Thank you. I hear a lot about power, this, that. All I'm looking for is more efficiency. Every month, people come up about why we're spending money on this or why employees are doing this. That's what my concern is. Last year, in the beginning of the year, for the first 3 or 4 months, the council president created a budget committee, and all we did was focus on the budget, look for opportunities, look for ways to save money. We held a town hall meeting, get feedback from residents. To me, we were efficient, we were focused, we had goals set up, parameters, and some of that stuff got done this year. If we're serious about addressing property taxes and serious addressing the issues on the labor contracts, it's very simple. You can't do both. You need to focus on one or the other. and to go with the history as far as this committee, a lot of residents don't know that back in the day, this used to be 2 separate committees. So when I did my research on this, I talked to former mayors, I talked to former council members who served here, and they agreed that this committee should be split as well. So, you know, the people who say that this is power, that's in their mindset. That's what they're focused on. Again, my focus is on more efficiency within the council being, and addressing our financial situation.
Thank you.
That's it.
Mr. Armstead,
I just want to say that the ladies and gentlemen out in the audience, the young people, I promise you, you were going to get a civic lesson tonight, and you did, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to vote on this thing.
motion, please.
Council President, I make a motion for ordinance 56-50 and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Kalbas?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
No.
Mr. Clerk, has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard? Okay, I'm sorry, we continue with the vote.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Sheehy.
No.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Frazier.
No.
Kaczynski.
No.
Mr. Moore.
No.
Passes 6-5.
All right, we'll move on to 5651.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 7-33, Handicap Parking Regulations, 7-33.1A, Handicap Parking on-street as follows. Add 331 Ashton Avenue, 1 space. Delete 425 Ainsworth Street, 1 space.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anybody who wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Motion, please.
Mr. President, I move that the hearing be closed and ordinance 5651 be adopted and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Kalbas?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5652.
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 53-56, amending Chapter 7, Traffic, 7-12, Parking by Permit Only in Designated Residential Areas, and ordinance 54-70, amending Chapter 7, Traffic, 7-12, Parking by Permit Only in Designated Residential Areas, be and are hereby repealed in their entirety and of no further force or effect.
Thank you. Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received the written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anyone in the audience wishes to be heard in the ordinance? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
Mr. Council President, I ask that the hearing be closed on ordinance 5652, and I seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kalbas?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. We'll move into the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or citizen so request. The invented item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. We have items 1 through 4. Does anyone wish to remove an item? On my right. In the center? On my left? Seeing none, ask for a motion.
Mr. President, with regard to the consent agenda, I make a motion to approve items number 1 through 4 and seek a second, please.
Second.
Mr. Kalbas?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Move into committee reports. Start with Ward 1. Kalbas?
Thank you, Council President. I'll be very brief.
DPW will be in the first ward shortly. I was informed, taking care of all the requests that I've placed over the last couple of months. So I just asked the residents of the first ward to be patient. The DPW will get to it, and I know they do a thorough job. Anybody with a question or concern could give me a call at 925-5568. This concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Cozio?
Thank you, Council President. I'd just like to welcome everybody again. Where are you all from again, this group?
Westfield.
Linden High, your high school group? And how about the Scouts? Westfield? Welcome, everybody. All right. Reality TV has nothing on us, does it? If anybody has any questions, if we're still around, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions, okay? At this point, what we do is we go down the line, 1st Ward through 10th Ward. We all represent a part of the city, and we give our committee reports and what's going on to, to our constituents and people at home, okay? Okay, citywide reports. Special Improvement District, SID Committee. The next meeting of the SID Committee will be tomorrow at 7 p.m. We'll have a representative from our DPW, and I think that's going to be Walter, or his designee, thank you, to discuss garbage and trash-related ordinances as they relate to downtown business and property owners. We are also progressing with the SID Downtown Linden website, a committee initiative to promote our downtown business and shopping district with resources such as a list of participating business owners, an interactive map of our downtown area, including parking, business V-card content, scrolling content on municipal and cultural events, city information, coupon offers from local businesses, and much more. Additional initiatives the committee is pursuing are the building facade replacements and the downtown beautification program. And I just happened to download, it's being developed, but I brought my iPad, and this is a static version. I don't know if anybody could see, but this is a static version of what we're going to try to do for downtown. It's called LindenDowntown.com, and we've got the URL established, and we're right now getting the website developed so that people can see what Linden has to offer. Just like Westfield has a beautiful downtown, Elm Street, go there all the time, love it. Cranford, everybody in Union County almost has a vibrant downtown. Linden has, we want to keep it vibrant, so this is going to help out our business owners and draw people into town and see what we have to offer. Our Revenue Enhancement Committee. Committee solicited preliminary information from firms specializing in municipal revenue generation. We received a proposal with several innovative ideas on how to develop revenue-sharing partnerships and programs between the public and private sector. We will review the preliminary outline and decide if we will prepare an RFP or attempt to initiate some or all of the revenue-generating methods locally. Technology Committee. This evening, Council, just before we came out, Council was asked to consider the development of a new municipal website, which would include a more user-friendly and comprehensive user interface, menus, and enhanced content. The new site would also contain much more information than currently resides on our site, with the ability to access more municipal content. There are funds already set aside for the redevelopment, and the Technology Committee will begin to prepare a preliminary page content map and explore template formatting options, all in order to develop an RFP. The Consolidation and Restructuring Committee, we did not meet last month, but I plan on having a meeting later this week. Departmental restructuring and not further cuts in our municipal workforce will be the future focus of the committee's efforts. Our next meeting, tentatively planned, will focus on working with personnel attorney, Mr. Roth, to better define and simplify all civil service titles, allowing for much more flexibility in the future when deploying laborers and other personnel. The committee will also review current tables of organization and consult with department heads on the most effective personnel deployment. The Duke redevelopment of the GM property, we hope and pray that it's going to take place, still on target for the spring. My concerns, and I've met with the mayor a few times on this, are the severe impact the redevelopment will have on the roads and infrastructure of the Second Ward. It will be the primary route of southbound traffic from other municipalities to the retail development on Route 1. I reached out recently to Mark Gianluca, the Senior Development Services Manager with Duke Realty, and his traffic engineers to take another look at the current traffic and vehicle flow conditions of the Style Street corridor from West Linden Avenue under the transit tracks through to St. George's Avenue, and it affects Councilman Colibus's ward as well. This area will potentially experience a 20% increase in traffic as development is completed at the GM site. Specific to the Second Ward, the West Elizabeth Avenue Flood Control Project, if anybody's been down West Elizabeth Avenue going to Rowway. I'm sorry. It's a mess, but in the long run, it looks like we've, hopefully, and I knock wood on this, we've solved the problem of the flooding. So please bear with us another month or two, and we'll have it all back to normal. Phase 1 of road reconstruction on the south side of West Elizabeth Avenue continues. Milling of the existing pavement and removal of the concrete base and curbing has been completed. And I think the easterly bound lanes are almost ready to be open. Currently, the contractor's in the process of constructing the new base, curbing, and sidewalk, and asphalt pavement will follow. Ward traffic and recent accidents. There was a meeting on Friday evening, and I thank the mayor and I thank the chief of police and Sergeant Popolski for having us. With Councilman Brown in the 3rd Ward, Councilman Sadowski in the 6th, and myself, we kind of represent the area that surrounds a transit hub. And what we've been experiencing is transit infiltration parking, in that people who don't want to come and pay the $5 fee and park in our train station will park a few blocks into our municipality and take a space up from probably 6 or 7:30 in the morning until 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, where a resident will not be able to park. And that has happened both in the 6th, in the 3rd, and the 6th, and in the 2nd Ward. And it causes a problem because we get calls from constituents say, I can't park in front of my house. And sure enough, we check, and these people are coming from out of town not only to save a few stops on the train, but also to save a few dollars parking, which does add up. But it's not fair to the homeowners. So we got together and we put our heads together, and we talked about putting a letter out to all of our residents who are affected by the transit parking and getting a community meeting together to see if permit parking would be an advisable option. So we're going to do that, and we're going to get a lot of input. And if transit, I should say, if permit parking is instituted, it would be the kind of thing where there would be no parking if you didn't have a sticker on the street from, say, 11 to 1 or 10 to 2. This way, the homeowner would have, the use of their street, but at all times. But then somebody coming to park from out of town will say, I can't park there all day, I'm going to get a ticket. So we're going to look at options on how to handle that. West Blanky Street development, the redevelopment at 1301 West Blanky Street, which is the old Celanese property. It's a 5-acre brownfield site that was remediated for development, continues with one building of the development almost completed. The development entity was initially considered, has considered a corporate park in Woodbridge, but decided on this property in Linden because of exorbitant renovation costs to the existing building in Woodbridge, and to accommodate the new laboratory. Linden offered better value with the construction of a new building closer to the waterfront and a lot of intermodal possibilities, and utility work has been completed, new curbing has been poured, and the laboratory, I'm told, will be up and running by November 2012, and the 44,000 square foot warehouse is projected to be up and occupied by the end of the first quarter 2013. And that's all I have to report. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman Brown?
Thank you. No report.
Councilman Armstead?
Yes, Mr. President, I have the following reports. From the License Inspector's Office, the City Clerk's Licensing Division is submitting this monthly report for the month of August 2012. The office issued 267 miscellaneous licenses and collected $4,332. I have an additional report. The following licenses, permits, and transcripts have been issued in the city's clerk's office during the month of August 2012, and fees received have been turned over to the treasurer's office. 182 birth, death, and marriage transcripts for $2,595. 36 marriage and civil union licenses for $108, with $900 in revenues going to the state. $0 in domestic partnerships. 19 miscellaneous revenues for $125.52. There were 6 bingo raffles for $120. 290 EDRS vital statistics for $4,515. And there were 2 burial permit fees for $10. The total would be, for the city of Linden, $7,473.52, with a grand total of $8,333.50. $373.52 because $900 went to the state. As always, prior to reading the personal and finance report, we ask that if the public would have any comment on the report. Does anyone from the public have any comments on the personal and finance report?
Councilwoman Cosby Hurley.
I just want to make a quick comment with regard to the personnel and finance report. For the seasonal programs, we are actually right now going to have a new process in place, hopefully within the next month or so. And this is one of those personnel policies that the Personnel and Finance Committee did not address several months ago. What happens is people do not really know they can actually apply for seasonal positions, whether it's a recreational, public works, or even a traffic safety guard. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually post these positions on a continuous basis, and we're going to adjust our existing policy so that we can backfill as the need exists. The reason for this, recommendation was so that every citizen in Linden has an opportunity at these temporary positions. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Again, does anybody else from the audience have any questions regarding the personal and finance report? Mr. Sharpie, go ahead.
Mr. Sharpie.
Number 1, 2, and 3, how long was this police officer chief on duty? He just resigned on September 3rd?
I don't know the exact date, but maybe the mayor or the chief could help you with that.
Chief, number 1.
Police officer Ricardo Altaveri, how long has he been on the force? And he resigned?
Approximately a year,
So we're down 1?
yes.
Okay. And these public telecommunicators, Barb, when was she hired? And Rebecca? And they're resigning? Or accepted resignation of both of them? When were they hired?
Rebecca was hired last month. She was a per diem dispatcher, and she resigned this month.
And the other one, number 3?
Number 2.
Spark Lab. He was here for approximately 4 or 5 years. He got a job in the police department in Newark, and he left as effective September 16th.
So we have 3 openings currently. All right, thank you.
No, we hired before when we knew Bark Lab was going to leave, we hired in his place, and Rebecca Tottoli was hired as a per diem because we hired Nicole Andrews, and so they're full.
Well, we're down 1 police officer.
We're down 1 police officer.
Mr. Armstead, go ahead.
Okay, approval is requested for the following personnel and finance actions. Number 1, in the police department, the acceptance of police officer Ricardo Oliveria's resignation as of September 3rd, 2012. I move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Kalbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Item 2, in the police department, the acceptance of resignation of public safety telecommunicator Bart Glab as of September 16th, 2012. I move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Kalbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Item number 3, in the police department, the acceptance of resignation of Rebecca Kearns Tottoli as a public safety telecommunicator trainee as of September 10th, 2012. Move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Kalbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Item number 4, in the Department of Finance, the approval to change Annie Goble's hiring rate from $10 per hour to $10.50 per hour due to a typographical error on the hiring motion made at the August 21st, 2012 council meeting. I move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Item number 5. In the Department of Finance, the approval of CFO to submit the best practices worksheet to the Division of Local Government Services by September 28, 2012 deadline. I move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Item number 6, in the Fire Department, the acceptance of a donation in the amount of $500 from Citgo to be used by the Fire Department. I move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Item 7, the personnel required to carry out the Department of Public Property and Community Services seasonal programs. The list is on file on the Treasurer's office. Move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Abstain.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
The payment of bills totaling $2,081,347.43. The bills have been signed by the mayor, council president, and finance chairman, and a detailed check register and vouchers are on file in the clerk's office. I move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Item 9, we're in receipt of the investments made by the city treasurer for the month of August at a rate of 0.75%. Move for approval and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Also, I'd like to remind the residents of Linden that there's going to be, the Linden Boxing Association will be having their knockout evening Friday, October 5th, 2012, in conjunction with the Department of Public Property and Community Service. They'll be presenting the 79th anniversary of the New Jersey State Finals of the Diamond Gloves. It's a full night of boxing entertainment. It's being sponsored by the ConocoPhillips Bayway Refinery at the Linden High School Gymnasium at 121 West St. George Avenue, where the first fight is scheduled to begin at 8 o'clock p.m. If you'd like to purchase tickets or you're looking for further information, you can call Public Property and Community Services Department at 908-474-8600. And finally, I'd like to personally thank the Sisters of Swing Phi Swing and the Fellowmen of Grove Psi Phi, the PAL cheerleaders, the Forever Fierce All-Star Cheerleading Squad, Patience Smith and Durrell Armstrong on their efforts to help us clean the Fourth Ward Park. In communities all across America, 9/11 is a day of international movement, as an international movement observing September 11th as a day of charitable service and a day to do good deeds. This observance provides a positive way to forever remember and pay tribute to the 9/11 victims, the horror that rose in the service in response to those attacks. It reminds people of the importance of working more closely together in peace and to improve the world. Today, millions participate annually by taking time out on 9/11 to help others in need in their own way. They provided a joint statement. I'd like to read it to the governing body and make it a part of the record. On September 11, 2011, the World Trade Center in New York, only a few short miles away from where we stand today, in Linden's Martin Luther King Park, was attacked by terrorists. The horrific events on that dark day have had a profound, lasting effect on Americans, America and the entire civilized world. The very values that so many Americans have given their lives for, liberty, freedom, and religion, democracy, justice, and the pursuit of happiness, were threatened on that day. Yet, we the people are people who embrace our collective strength of endurance, which since the birth of this great nation has been continuously cultivated to be one of diversity and tolerance. The American spirit and pride will never allow darkness to prevail. After the shock of that horrific situation settled, we looked to each other and comforted each other and worked in solidarity to see the light of a better tomorrow. The Sisters of Swing Fi Swing and the fellow men of Groove 5 Groove SFI and Councilman Derek Armstead believe that our children are our future, and we invest our time, energy, and talent to make a positive difference in their lives. Thank you all volunteers for making this powerful commitment to our youth, and together we're bringing a strong ray of sunshine and a lasting light of love. And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Armstead. Councilwoman Cosby-Hurley.
Thank you. I'll try and do this quickly so that we can get out of here tonight. We had a community meeting in the 5th Ward, which we normally have every 3 months. This month, we actually had a request from a neighbor, so I want to thank her for making a recommendation for an item or a topic of discussion to Mrs. Rabin Mosley Boston. She requested just to have a talk or some information distributed with regards to mental health in urban communities. The health department came, Nancy did gave us some information, handed out a booklet. It was very beneficial to the people in the audience because, believe it or not, there's a lot of mental illness and it's not immediately recognized. We also had our police department do a presentation which actually gave additional information with regard to mental health and how our police are well trained to deal with, emotional disturbed people or someone who may have an issue mentally. So I want to thank everyone for attending. Tomorrow is the Linden Housing Authority Commissioners meeting, which I'm going to attend as the liaison. I'll give more information next month. For recycling, I learned last month that we all have to have, all of our parks needs to have recycling receptacles, which we do not. So we're going to look to be creative and quite possibly revisit Councilman Kozinski's suggestion with regard to advertising. And that's just like the trash cans, like if you see in Summit and other municipalities have local advertisers on them, they pay for the can, we're compliant with recycling, and they get their ad. So we're going to look closer at that. I'm going to talk with our recycling committee. We'll get a meeting together. And I did speak to the mayor with regard to the environmental commissioners being involved in this as well. Engineering, I don't have any detailed report, only just to tell you that the street paving that was already on for this year has been completed with no complaints to date, Southwood Avenue and DeWitt. We also have several items on tonight for approval. Contract negotiations, we actually had a meeting already to create a focus on what our committee is going to look at when we get to the bargaining table. We have a new member, and to Mr. Principato's point, I'm looking forward to working with all of the members of the committee, no matter if, whatever our labels are or we, deny our labels. So we're going to have another meeting in maybe 2 weeks or so, once everybody has a chance to review our existing contracts and see what we're going to look for in our initial proposal to the unions. On Sunday, we're going to have at 3 p.m. Wilson Park, myself, several council members here from Linden. We have support from Roselle and Elizabeth council members. We're going to observe the International Day of Peace, which actually is this Thursday, but we're going to observe it on Sunday, 3 p.m. in Wilson Park. Nothing fabulous. We're just going to come out, the neighbors come out and stand in unity so that we can, say we want a peaceful city. And we are going to try and get things set up in our town to prevent some of, the senseless violence that's going on in Linden. So if you're available, please join us, Linden Council representatives and Ball for Life, and come out and, stand with us in peace. From the 5th Ward, several stop signs that I observed and street sign parking notices have been replaced. We have a crosswalk on Dill, which was actually repainted, but because of the high traffic, I'm going to ask, I have already asked actually, to have the stripers done where they iron them on so that, it's clearly visible. I had some complaints that people are parking in the crosswalk. The seniors can't cross and the children after school have difficulty crossing at that crosswalk. Charles Street Park is completely closed. It's going to start from scratch. So for the fall and winter, we won't have a park, which it's okay. Thank goodness we did have it for the time in the spring and part of the summer, so it's totally closed. And I've gotten calls already with suggestions on what type of equipment to put. So just for you neighbors, I will present those to the committee and see what funding we get from, the grants, and I'll keep my fingers crossed. Lastly, we have in our ward several requests for tree trimming, and right now the crew is actually headed to the first ward, so we do have to wait our turn. I appreciate everyone's patience. If you have a tree that is hazardous, please don't hesitate to contact myself or Public Works at 908-474-8666, and my number is 908-477-4120. I'd like to welcome 2 small businesses to the 5th Ward. Tasties is a small business, it's a little restaurant located at Cranford and East St. George. And also welcome Sharon's Share Illusions, which is the beauty salon, and she moved from Roselle Street. So she stayed in Linden, and we welcome her to the 5th Ward. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Sadowski.
Thank you, Council President. Just a few remarks. Talking with Mr. Cosio and Mr. Brown concerning the parking by the train station. Letters will be sent out for that meeting. Anyone in the 6th Ward who think they are affected by these, please give me a call so I can include your street on that letters when we hand them out. We are having a few streets paved. The first coming up, I guess, in October, we'll have Cedar Avenue from Woodlawn to Clinton paved, and we'll have Woodlawn from the highway up 2 streets. There are other streets in the 6th Ward that we have put in for paving, but they have to wait. They're on a list. If you notice by Wheeler Park, the county is going forward with the soccer field. The stakes are in. I talked to the people in the county, and they're progressing. They will have it up before the winter. You should be happy, George. The Duke property, every month they're still waiting for all this litigation to be settled. Once that's settled, I'm sure we'll have an open field and we'll stop building there. If you noticed on Stiles Street and West Munsell, there's crosswalks for going to 6th School. We put in to traffic, thanks to the mayor and traffic. Right there we have one of those pedestrian warning stanchions. It's been up for about a week. It's a county road. I really didn't think it would last with the trucks, but so far it's been there, and people have been slowing down for it, so at least it's serving a purpose. But to be truthful, with the trucks coming down Stiles Street, I didn't think it would last, but it is, and I think it is making a difference. 6th School, I talked to Principal Perkins. If we had a bus what am I calling, drop-off, it was switched from Munsell to Linden Avenue. They painted the signs, they painted everything. According to her, it's going great. There's no problems. The other side is a drop-off. On this one side is the bus stop. So this is something brand new, and according to her, it's working well. With the fall beginning, just to remind you that if you're not a member, the senior citizen clubs have started up again. If you're not a member of any of the clubs, please, you're missing out on a lot of fun. Come up there, meet new people, maybe find something new to do. It's a good experience. There's a few clubs around. Think about it. Okay, let me see, anything else? If, according to the street we talked about before, if you think people are parking, please give me a call at my home. It's 908-862-0749, 862-0749. If I'm not home, my wife is usually home to take a message. If she's not home, please leave it, I'll pick up the message. But this is coming out. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Sheehy?
Yes, sir, thank you. I just have a few comments. I would like to thank all the volunteers for this September to Remember. I believe this was the best September to Remember that we've had so far. The streets were full. We had no more room for vendors. Could have used a couple more classic cars, but the citizens wouldn't believe the handful of people that come together that put that event on. You know, we could use more help. Honestly, our mayor was out there emptying garbage cans this year. But if anybody would like to help with that September Remember, please join the Cultural Committee, because the event, this gets bigger and bigger every year, and we can use the help. I would like to thank Councilwoman Yamakaitis for her 911 ceremony. And we need more Linden citizens to get over to the Wanda Park in 8th Ward to observe this, because we must never forget what happened that day. And I give her a lot of credit for doing this every year. Mrs. Yamakaitis and her son Tommy comes out and plays taps. The fire department's there, the police department's there. But it's basically only attended by the 8th Ward, and I'm a bit upset about that. I think the whole town should participate in that, because the work that the councilwoman goes through to put this on, it's not just for her ward, it's for the whole town. And I take my hat off to her for continuing to do this every year, and we must never forget. And I thank you for that. I sincerely do. And the Halloween parade is coming up, and there will be a meeting tomorrow at the library. I think it's 7 or 7:30. But again, we could use plenty of volunteers. It's the same deal. You wouldn't believe just the handful of people that put that Halloween parade on. We could use more help. So if anybody wants to help the Halloween parade, please tomorrow at the library, or contact Gary Luciano at the Recreation Department. We could sure use your help. And in the 7th Ward on Walter Street, Walter Street's like the last street in the city of Linden. Most people don't know where Walter Street is, but we're going to be planting trees on Walter Street, and we're going to be enforcing the parking. So everyone parks on the grass over there. You're going to have to park horizontally with the road, because we are going to be enforcing the parking on Walter Street, so these newly planted trees do not get destroyed. Another little problem with trees, a lot of people don't understand the difference between a city tree and their tree, or they're just trying to get the city to maintain their tree. Basically, a city tree is between the sidewalk and the curb. That's a city tree. Unless you have an unusual right-of-way, going through your property, it's basically that spot between the sidewalk and the curb. The city will maintain those trees, because I'm getting beat up by the neighborhood. They're trying to say it's a city tree, and they're not. If we can cut it, we will maintain it, but we cannot go on private property to maintain a tree. And on a little bit of a sad note, Mother Evelyn Brightwell, which I believe she's the oldest person in the 7th Ward, has passed away. She's lived in Linden for over 80 years, and God bless her. And everyone in the 7th Ward knows Mother Evelyn, so God rest her soul. End of my report, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Sheehy. Councilwoman Yamakaitis.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the Board of Health, registrations for the flu shots is now open. Please call the Health Department at 474-8409. Residents 60 years or older or residents with chronic illnesses need to pre-register for the program. So please call them to set up your flu shots. Also, just a reminder, mosquito season is still ongoing. All residents are asked to check their property for any standing water which may allow mosquitoes to breed and eliminate this water. Also, if you are aware of any vacant houses with standing water in the yard areas, contact the Health Department at 474-8422 with these addresses so that the properties can be referred to the Union County Bureau of Mosquito Control for treatment. One announcement from the Linden Library. The Linden Library will be having a ham and yam fundraising dinner on Friday, October 26th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the JTG Center located on Helen Street in Linden. The tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for children. On tonight's agenda, the council will be voting to approve a grant application and approving the execution of a grant agreement with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for improvements to repair deterioration on roadways in Linden. Of particular interest to the 8th Ward is Park Avenue. I will keep the 8th Ward residents advised as to the progress of this application. I would also be remiss if I didn't thank the 8th Ward residents, as Councilman Sheehy mentioned, that come out year after year for our 9/11 candlelight ceremony. Wanda Anita Green, she was a resident of the 8th Ward. She perished on Flight 93. She raised children in our neighborhood, and it's just amazing. People just come out year after year just to spend an hour just to be together and commemorate. I would also like to thank all the elected officials, the police, fire, public property, and public works departments for either their assistance and/or their participation in the candlelight vigil. I would also like to thank the bagpipers, the Linden High School Naval ROTC, Mr. Lorenzetti of the marching band, and all the students who contributed their talents to enrich the ceremony. And once again this year, I'd like to thank Mr. Richie Check for using his electricity for the ceremony. And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Frazier? Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to comment on the Hawk Rise Sanctuary. Again, we opened that up on May 30th. That is the 170-plus acres in total encompassing our landfill, which is down at Lower Road at the intersection of Range Road. A lot of people have already commented that it was great walking through the mile-and-a-quarter walkway, which is probably worth about $1.25 million, but it's really great. Numerous people have commented they saw deer there, foxes, numerous amounts of wild turkey and other animals, and right now we have some turtles down there. Unfortunately, right now, it's a little difficult to try to get in there, particularly traverse there, for the simple reason Spectre Energy, which has its main location on Range Road, is installing their new pipes which go into Range Road, then on to Lower Road. So trying to get there is a little difficult, and if I were you, I'd just wait a little while until Spectre completes its installation. There were numerous requests about putting porta-johns in there. Well, I'm delighted to say we have one large porta-john. It's a non-gender john, which is handicap accessible. And I had been down there last week, and it really looks great. So give Hawk Rise a chance. As far as I said, it will be a gem for our city. Be great for our young people and anyone who's environmentally conscious, students, etc., to get down there and just walk through. I'd like to also comment on the Environmental Commission's last meeting. I happen to be not a member, but oversee the Environmental Commission as a councilman, and at their September 6th meeting, September 5 meeting, they had voted on on the Earth Care project. And let me explain that. Earth Care is the company that's looking to come to Linden and install their autoclave machine, which is an apparatus that converts biomedications used medications, used needles, and so forth that doctors' offices properly dispose of. And what this does, this autoclave machine renders them completely sanitized, breaks them up and so forth to a point where they're no longer infectious. And this has been approved by the NJDP, the US DOT, as well as many organizations. What the Linden Environmental Commission did, they approved only the autoclave apparatus. All right, let me say that again. They approved only the autoclave apparatus, that it does a proper job and does the right job. They didn't approve the facility, they didn't approve the company coming in with it whatsoever. That becomes the responsibility of this council, as well as the planning board, who will take later action on this, should it come to that point. Okay? Moving on. In the 9th Ward, we've completed the paving at Dewood Terrace, which encompassed Swarthmore to Livingston Road, which is a good-sized portion of roadway, cost quite a bit. We were very, very successful, and I must commend our engineering department. They were the ones that received the grant from the New Jersey Department of Transportation to complete this. Now it's completed. I believe there's just a few things to do, is to stripe the crosswalks that are going to the various schools there and so forth. One thing I hope that the motorists adhere to the speed limit, which is 25 miles an hour. And because it's nice and paved, doesn't give you the opportunity to use it as a raceway. Be commensurate, be concerned about our young people who traverse there every single morning and every single afternoon to and from to school. All right, one other item that I want to comment on, garage sales. Pretty much every location, every ward has them from now until the weather becomes not too pleasing. They're great. Garage sales are a great thing because what they do, they give the people who are having the sale the opportunity to get rid of certain things. And as they say, you know, one person's trash can become another person's treasure. This is normally what happens. That's fine. And it's really great. But at the same time, too, there's a proper conduct that one must use. Number one, you've got to get a permit from the city. Number two, along with the permit, there's instructions on what to do. Now, my 7th Ward councilman mentioned about city property where the tree is located. Well, at the same time, you can't put signs on city trees, you can't put signs on city poles or telephone poles because they're all on city property. City property is usually defined as that section of property between the curb and the sidewalk. So we don't want to cause or create a circus-like atmosphere, but sometimes it happens, and people forget about taking down these signs. And believe me, a tree is a living thing. Don't put a nail in it along with a sign. It doesn't belong there. Let it grow just like yourself. Grow. All right, so please, adhere to the instructions when you pick up your permit. Do the right thing. If you want to put a sign up, ask the neighbor who has a corner lot if you can put it on his property just for the day. If not, park your car there and put it on the windshield. These are the right things to do. So please, if we all do that, we can maintain the decorum of our community, which we should. We have a great, wonderful community. Let's keep it that way. With that, I thank you so much, and I do have my personal website, which is robertfrasercouncilman.com, and if you need to get in touch with me, the phone number is 908-925-0343. With that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Frazier. Councilman Kozinski.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. From the Construction Code and Lighting Committee, the office processed 134 new permits and issued 156 certificates in August and collected $51,373 in total fees for the month. And our committee will be meeting soon to discuss various issues, including but not limited to the responsiveness to getting our street lights repaired that are either malfunctioning or broken. I have personal issues with some of these lights, and I have requested all of the records from since January. I've requested them put in, and we're going to be going through and seeing how responsive we are to getting these lights repaired or fixed for obvious reasons, their safety reasons, lighting reasons, things like that. From the Fire Department Committee, the Fire Prevention Bureau collected $6,610 in August, and the Linden Fire Department was very recently awarded a Port Authority security grant for a Blue Force tracking system. At no cost to Linden, this grant allows us to install tracking, identification, charting software on our vessels, and it will allow our vessels to coordinate more efficiently with other agencies to enhance the security and safety of the port. Since we received the word of this award so close to the meeting, there was no time to add it to the agenda. So I'd like to make a motion now to accept this grant and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel? Yes. Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakitis? Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Thank you. Also, I'd like to invite everyone to the annual Fire Prevention Night, which this year is being co-sponsored by New Star along with numerous other companies. It's going to be on September 25th from 4 to 7 at the Promenade right out here on Wood Avenue. There will be fire department displays, equipment, information stations, demonstrations, Sparky the Fire Dog, Freddy the Fire Truck, games, prizes, and the such for children in attendance. And although this will be a fire department-led event, it's truly a community event with refreshments, games, and other departments there as well. And this isn't just informational for children, it's also geared to the whole family to come out and learn something. You can have some food, some fun, and most importantly, possibly learn something that might one day help keep you, your family, or your house safer in the event of a fire emergency, which is really what it's all about, trying to keep everyone safe and the associated risks from fire. I would also be remiss if I didn't point this out. It was forwarded along to me regarding our firefighter service, regarding the ambulance service. Two residents wrote a letter specifically pointing out firefighters Espinal and Hobelinko that responded to a call. And I'm not going to read the whole letter here, but I just want to point out that words that came out again and again were professional, polite, patient. And speaking along, we were talking about earlier, we can have our squabbles up here, but the thing we have to make sure we never forget is that the government's here to help the people. And if we ever forget that, then we're in a lot of trouble. So something like this, I think, speaks volumes to the community, and it's something we should all take great pride in. And as the chairperson of the fire committee, I'm very proud. I'm sure the fire committee as a whole is very proud, and the city should be proud, as you should be anytime something like this happens and a resident benefits. And I would also like to piggyback on what Councilman Sheehy said about the 9/11 remembrance at Wanda Green Park, sponsored by Councilwoman Yamakitis. It was truly a moving event. I was there last year. This year I was able to be there as an actual council person, and I was just as touched and just as moved, and not because of the event itself, more so with the love and the community that it embraced. To truly sit back and see that, regardless of what anybody looked like, what they believed in, no matter what, there was that common thread, and everyone came out to support that, and I was extremely grateful for the invitation, and I would just like to say it was very, very moving. In the 10th Ward specifically, and briefly, we are continuing to focus on our pedestrian and vehicular safety, so please be aware that I'm going to ask the Linden Police Department to ramp up enforcement of our vehicular safety rules and laws throughout our many streets. So please, 10th Ward residents, be aware that I am going to ask, again, that if someone's speeding on our side roads and you happen to live on a side road and you happen to get pulled over for that reason, please be aware that I'm hoping this applies to everyone, because a speeding car is not going to know the difference if it hits somebody, if they live next door, if they live out of town, or wherever. So please be aware. And along those lines, hand in hand, I'm going street by street and looking at the signs that are posted and getting them repaired. And I want to thank the different departments that have helped me with this, to get them replaced, especially the safety-related ones in our ward. So with all that, if you have any questions, please feel free to call me at 908-463-9234. You can email me at akazinski@linden-nj.org. And thank you, Mr. Council President. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor Gabunga?
Thank you, Council President. I'd like everyone to know that we have positions open for school crossing guards. So anyone wishing to pick up an application, you could go to our Traffic Bureau. It's on the first floor of City Hall, and get an application for a school crossing guard. All the particulars will be there for you to decide whether this is a position for you or not. And we're always in need of school crossing guards. I'm also pleased to report that in the September 11th News Tribune, there was an article about our high-performing school district. Again, City Council does not run our schools. That's what we have a Board of Education election for. But schools are extremely important to a community. And many times, I feel our Linden schools, from kindergarten through to high school, do not get the credit that they rightfully deserve. And this shows the high performance of our school district. And I'd just like to read a few highlighted sentences in this article. And it said, the city school district has been designated as a high-performing district after meeting requirements of the State Department of Education's Quality Single Accountability Continuum Review. The designation comes from an extensive review of 5 areas, and it goes into the 5 areas. News about the district's high performance arrived with the March 2012 Cycle 2 High School Proficiency Assessment for Linden High School. The assessment showed math scores increased 1.4% and language arts literacy increased 5.3%. Linden High School also received notification this summer that 8 2012 graduating seniors earned their International Baccalaureate diploma for their work. This was the highest number of students since the program was established 10 years ago. Again, every time I go into Linden High School or the middle schools or elementary schools, I am extremely impressed by Dr. Tomasic, his staff, the teachers, and the students, how well educated they are and how polite they are. And again, it just annoys me that there's people that say that our schools aren't of the caliber they should be, and I totally disagree with it, and here's an article that proves it. So again, my congratulations to Superintendent Tomasic and all the Board of Education members. I'd also like to mention about the September to Remember real quick. As Councilman Sheehy said, it was a successful street festival on September 1st. The volunteers did an excellent job. Of course, as he said, we always need volunteers, and unfortunately, the hard work goes to the few that volunteer their time and efforts. And I think one person I do have to recognize for putting in a tremendous amount of effort is a cultural president, Molly Lentz, who ran the whole affair and was doing it for about 2 months before the street festival actually took off. So Molly, I would just like to thank you for your commitment to the city of Linden. That's what makes Linden not only a city, but a community when everyone could come together and enjoy a street festival. I'd also have to mention that, please, residents, be on the lookout for suspicious persons in your neighborhood. We're starting to experience an extra amount of burglaries that are going on throughout the various neighborhoods in the city of Linden. If you see anything suspicious, just call the police. Either call at 911 for a burglary in progress or 474-8500. I don't care if you call 10 times and it becomes nothing but a mistake, because that 11th time is the time that we could catch that burglar. So don't be afraid to call. Nobody's going to be angry at you if it turns out to be nothing more than a neighbor walking in another neighbor's house. It's important that we all look out for each other, and the way to do it is to look out for your neighbors. I also, as councilman in 9th Ward, has a website. I have a website, LindenMayor.com. LindenMayor.com, easy to remember. You will see all the developments that are on the drawing board from the city of Linden, and a synopsis of where we stand at the moment. You'll also see some other descriptions of projects that we've done and completed, and also a major piece on the red light issue that's a bit of a controversy now with the cameras. That's, again, LindenMayor.com. Also, tomorrow at 11:55, I'm going to be leaving on an airplane to Tongchan, China. It's Shanxi province. I'm going there to promote the city of Linden for 1 week. It's not costing the taxpayers any money except for a plaque that I'm going to present to Tongchan City. I'm going to be there for a week, promote the city of Linden, speak to different diplomats, speak to different party members, and speak to different businessmen, and let them see what our city has available for them to develop. And we have over 400 acres of heavy industry on the other side of the turnpike that's ripe for development now. So again, it'll be for a whole week. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm not going to claim that I'm going to bring back all kinds of businesses the first time, but we're going to have a dialogue, and next year, the same officials will come and visit the city of Linden. So with that said, I'm going to end my report, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just tell everybody at home we won't be without a mayor. Mr. Councilman Frazier will be acting as mayor in his position as President Pro Tem. All right, we're going to move into resolutions 2012-325 through 2012-356. Public comments will be permitted for those specific resolutions to be removed from the consent approval. Please read the synopsis of the resolutions, which have been prepared by the city clerk's office. Each is informative and self-explanatory. However, if you wish to address the specific resolution, the council will entertain questions on it. Does anyone wish to remove resolutions 2012-325 through 2012-356? Am I right, Pat Hero? 334. 340. 341. 354. 356. Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Sharpie. 334. 344. 345. 46. 38. 49. 56. On my left. Motion on the remainder?
Mr. President, I ask that resolutions 2012-325 through 356 be adopted, with the exceptions of resolutions 334, 338, 340, 341, 344, 345, 346, 349, 354, and 356. And I seek a second.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Crosby, Hurling. Sadowski.
Yes.
Sheehy.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Kaczynski.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. Pat Hero on 334, please. Would you come up?
It's a shame the Law Explorer people left, because I was going to, as Councilman Armstead did, tell them a little bit about grants and government and such.
However, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. How many firefighters are we below complement? We are 12, below complement, okay?
We're 12 below what we were before the
Okay,
So before, we were at 123, we're now at 111. These 12 would bring us back to 123.
is it absolutely necessary for us to be at 123?
Well, it would certainly make us a little safer if we were at 123. It would give us another engine company back. It would also help us with the manning of the second ambulance.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I just, want to make sure that we're running as efficiently as possible, because few things are more expensive, not only more expensive, but actually more necessary than firefighters and policemen, but still in these tough economic times, we should make ways to work as efficiently as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sharpie?
Yeah, I too have about safety and everything, due to burglaries and stuff like that, I think this should be divided between the fire and the police department. Put 6 in, because due to the fire department, I don't know when they start their schools and when the police department start their fireman school. Due to retirements coming up and other things with both departments and everything, we're only a few months short of January, and that's when the police department, I know, goes in January, and I don't know when the fire department goes, that this money could be evenly divided. It's the safety of all our residents, and burglaries and fire and inventory, and, I think it should sort of be divided, because we don't know how we are with budget and who's retiring, who's not retiring, that we can evenly divide this grant in one way or another. That's all.
Thank you. Motion, please.
Mr. President, I ask that Resolution 2012-34 be passed and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Harling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 338, Mr. Sharpie?
Yes, could you, Mr. Sheehy, explain this, what it entails, so that residents could know what it all entails, please?
Sure. We're buying is that the garbage truck?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
338, sir?
We're now moving forward with our garbage collection, recycling. We are now going to purchase at least one to start, the garbage truck with the automatic arm that comes off to the side. We've had a lot of problems with employees getting hurt. It'll reduce that. It's basically just moving into the future. What we're going to do, we're going to start off with 2 wards. We're still figuring out which 2 wards we're going to start it in, but we're only getting 1 truck as of now. As you see, the truck that we had on there for an ordinance, we canceled it, and we're now getting, I would call them the one-arm truck, the one-arm sanitation truck. And I think it's showing that we're moving forward into the future, and we're going to change. I don't really want to speak on, how we're going to do it yet. It's still in progress on how we're going to pick it up and which wards we're going to do it in. But you could say it's going to be a trial, and other towns have done it, and the trucks now are perfected. Now's the time to buy these trucks. 10 years ago, they had a lot of problems with them, and they worked all the bugs out of them. So I feel it's a great move toward the future of the city for our sanitation pickup. And like right now, actually, we're only going to be doing sanitation. We're not even going to be doing recycling yet. But I shouldn't say that because, we don't have all that figured out right now. So it's a work in progress, and it's a work toward the future.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehy. Motion, please.
Mr. President, I ask that Resolution 2012-38 be passed and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Kosiel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Number 340, Pat Hero.
What's the nature of these class action lawsuits for the Insurance Fund Commission?
He's involved in red light cameras.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Motion, please.
Mr. President, I ask that Resolution 2012-340 be passed and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Kosiel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 341, Pat Hero.
It seems to me that at a fee not to exceed $151,290 for air permitting, monitoring, and reporting at the Linden landfill, awfully expensive. Is there any way we could train some of our people so they can do this that are already employed?
Mr. Verchik.
I can't speak for Public Works, but my office cannot do this. These are all required by EPA and DEP. They keep on throwing more rules and regulations at us. We have to monitor the flare, we have to monitor the grinder, we have to monitor the generator. There's just 5 pages of things that have to be reported on either monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually, and it's much too much for my department and probably for Public Works also.
Okay, thank you.
Motion, please. Excuse me.
Mr. President, I ask that Resolution 2012-341 be passed and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Kosiel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Mr. Sharping, 344. You want to address all three at the same time? Yes. 45 and 46.
These public defenders, are they practicing Linden attorneys?
Mr. Hudak.
They're practicing attorneys. They are on our RFQ list. This is a matter that requires numerous attorneys.
But are there any Linden attorneys practicing in this city?
And Mr. Shoppy, we put out a bid RFQ, and the attorneys that respond are the ones that are retained.
This Jowin, isn't he running for county freeholder?
I ask for a motion, please.
Mr. President, I ask that Resolutions 2012-344, 345, and 346 be passed and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Kosiel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Mr. Sharpie, 349.
This, for the drunk driving enforcement, where is this $11,000 going to?
349?
Yeah, 349, yes. $11,364.27 is now available as revenue from drunk driving enforcement fund.
Mrs. Zach?
This is a grant that the City of Linden receives each year. It's the police department. They utilize it for various activities, usually for overtime details for drunk driving enforcement.
Oh, so that'd be for the overtime for,
Yes, they have different
you know,
activities that they utilize it for.
drink one drink and get pulled over? Okay, thanks, Chief.
Motion, please.
Mr. President, I ask that Resolution 2012-349 be passed and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Kosiel? Yes. Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 354, Pat Hero.
This is a resolution honoring the late Mayor Paul Workmeister. And I wish I had said this before he had passed away. I had meant to say it. I didn't know, we never know when someone is going to pass away. But I once had a talk a few years ago with someone who said about mayors, and some mayors had things named after them, and then there are some mayors that we have forgotten to name things after. Well, I don't think we should forget to name something after the late Mayor Paul Workmeister. It could be a building, it could be a road. In fact, I kind of like the way of having a street named Paul Workmeister Way. That way we could always remember Paul Workmeister's way of honoring the citizens and honoring the taxpayers and honoring the community and being a great patriot to our country and a much-loved individual in the city of Linden. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion, please.
Mr. President, I ask that Resolution 2012-354 be passed and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Kosiel? Yes. Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 356, Pat Hero.
Just when you thought it was safe. It's approving a settlement agreement between the City of Linden and Provisional Police Chief Sal Bavona. Since it hasn't been approved, since we're going to be talking upon it, is it possible for you to possibly approve it and then we talk about, because I would imagine this is executive session, so if you want to go ahead and either approve or not approve it, that's up to you, vote on it, and then we can discuss it? Am I
Mr.
correct on
Hudak?
this?
Ms. Hero, if it's approved, the agreement would then become public record, and if you wish to bring it up again at the public session, or you wish to open a document, then you're welcome to it. But until such time as council takes an action on it, it is confidential at this point.
Right, but I'm suggesting after they vote on it,
Yeah.
then can we talk about
Then
it?
at the public session, at the end of the meeting, if you wish to bring it up again, you can.
Actually, I already have several things covered during my public portion, but maybe someone else would like to pick up on this? Hint, hint in the audience?
Mr. Sharpie on 356.
Yes, as a public record, I don't know what it is, but Chief, are you being bought out? Please honestly tell the public, yes or no. What is this settlement agreement about? Because I would hate to lose you, Chief,
Mr. Hudak?
because you're the only ones that gets anything done here. When I approach you and I tell you about the crimes and incidents that are happening here in the city, you're a chief that gets right to action and gets the job done. And I would hate for this city to lose this great chief that we got here. And, please, please, do not let this man go. Because he gets the job done, and I don't believe in someone sitting behind a desk for 24 years, or wherever he's been down there. This man has done his job as chief in this city, and he gets things done. And I know that, and I hate to see him leave us, because I know he has a lot of good years that he could dedicate to this city, and he does get the job done. And so I just hope, I hate to lose you, Chief. I really do.
Thank you. Motion, please.
Council President, I ask that Resolution 2012-356 be passed and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Kosiel? Yes. Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Council, in order to take into consideration the public input into proposed ordinance, will allow 3 minutes for each individual to speak on the ordinance on first reading. Council will not answer any questions, and everyone is reminded that the public hearing on each of these ordinances will be held next month's council meeting. We have 5653 through 5655. Mrs. Clerk, would you read 5653?
An ordinance creating a public safety commission.
Does anybody wish to comment on that?
Yeah. How many wards would this entail? The Public Safety Commission, would that be the public?
Oh, it's just informative for your input, and there's no comments.
Well, I would strongly suggest that each ward have its Public Safety Commission, maybe one or two neighbors or whatever in each ward, so that if the residents see anything happening, they can call up the proper authorities in this public safety, and be very important that each ward have its own two individuals who report to city council and then on to the police chief, or any incidents they see happening, or running from the scene of crime, or anything like that. Neighbors going into, that don't belong there, going into residents' homes, and especially during the day when all the police officers are very busy and neighborhoods are empty and people just come in from other towns, they just sneak in and try to rob your house. And the people see this, that the Public Safety Commission be in every ward.
Thank you. A motion to introduce?
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we introduce ordinance 5653 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Colibus?
Yes.
Koziol?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5654.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 7 traffic as follows. Section 7-33 handicap parking regulations, 7-33.1A handicap parking on street, add 703 Knopf Street, 1000 McCandless Street, delete 237 First Avenue.
Comments? Seeing none, motion to introduce?
Council President, I move for introduction, ordinance number 56-54, and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Colibus?
Yes.
Koziol?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5655.
Bond ordinance authorizing the acquisition of various items of capital equipment for the Public Works Department and appropriating $676,500 and authorizing the issuance of $642,675 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof, an automated refuse collection truck, and automated refuse containers.
From the public, any questions? Please come up.
Actually, no questions, just comments, although I guess it's a question, but since you can't answer it, I just want to bring to the attention, you know how I already feel about automated refuse collection trucks, and yeah, maybe Mr. Sheehy is right on this, but personally, I like to keep as many people employed as I possibly can, or actually the city, since I'm not employing them. However, and here it says automated refuse collection trucks, $346,500. Granted, that's a truck, it's going to be expensive. But automated refuse containers, $330,000? I mean, how many, I guess I should say, how many containers are we getting and what are they made out of? Gold? $330,000 is a lot of money. I went recently to Home Depot maybe and bought a little bucket for $2, and I probably could have bought a garbage container for, you know, relatively small amount of money. So $330,000 seems to be an awful lot of money we're spending on automated refuse containers. Thank you, and I guess I'll get my answer next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion, Mr. Sharpie?
These containers are for all the residents. This is, and they normally go about $190 a piece. They 90 gallons, you know, like each resident will have one, and you will be responsible for it, and the city will purchase these for all the residents and whatever wards it's going to be done in. If you go out down to Woodbridge, you'll see they have the same thing. But if it gets stolen, then you'll be responsible to replace it. But Woodbridge has this, and there's other towns throughout the county who have these. And I think Roselle has them. I think they're starting to get their recycle things out to their residents. I was listening to their Roselle's, and that city too, they'll be purchasing for all the resident recycle containers. And also here in Linden, once we get this truck, all the residents will have them. That's it.
Thank you for your comments. Motion to introduce, please.
Council President, I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance 56-55 and respectfully ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Colubus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5656.
Bond ordinance authorizing the acquisition of various items of capital equipment for the fire department and appropriating $180,000 and authorizing the issuance of $171,000 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof. Radio equipment, turnout gear, and various equipment.
Comments from the public? On my right, center, left. Motion to introduce, please.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I move to introduce ordinance 5656 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Colubus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Sheehy?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. We'll move into comments from the members of the public in attendance on city business. No personal or derogatory comments, not to exceed 5 minutes. I'd like to call up Mr. Sharpie.
I'm really glad I'm first so I can get home. Okay, the shortage of police officers within the city here, and especially those on foot patrol. You know, I think each ward should be given a foot patrol officer, you know, especially during the day or evening, like 4 hours on foot and the other 4 hours on behind the car. And crosswalks still haven't been painted on Washington Avenue and Henry, and too close to the curve to the stop sign parking. It wasn't corrected. And children on Wood Avenue up here by Dunkin' Donuts on their skateboards. I know the skateboard park's down there, but they're skateboarding down the streets here at night, you know, and you know, bad enough they ride their bikes up and down on the sidewalk, but, you know, come on. You know, the skateboard's down there, and they're riding their bikes up and down the sidewalk here. And also the licensing of bicycles, and being enforcing children with helmets on while they're riding their bikes. You know, they're riding down the street, and, you know, why all these bikes have licenses on them? Other cities have license on their bikes, you know, and, you know, that too, you know. The senior citizen walking down the sidewalk, and then, boom, there goes a kid riding by on a bike. You know, this ain't being enforced. You know, you're walking down the street, and you turn around, and there's a kid going by on a bike. You know, nothing's being done about it. Come on. You know, what am I paying my taxes for? You get run over by a bicycle on the sidewalk? You know, this ain't being enforced. That's all. That's all I got tonight.
Mr. Principato?
John Principato, 1706 Westover Road. Excuse me. I just want to say, I want to thank the engineering, George from the engineering department. I deal with the engineering department almost on a weekly basis lately, and I deal with engineering departments in other cities and townships in Union County and outside of Union County. And I got to say that Linden has the most professional engineering department, and they're always very aggressive at helping you. If you need help for anything, they're always open to help you. I just want to thank them. I also want to thank the DPW and Walter Fakiti. I had actually, it wasn't me, it was a customer of mine had a situation with a manhole cover, and they called the engineering department, and they in turn called Public Works, and Public Works, it's a manhole cover that's on their property, and Public Works came right out and replaced that old damaged manhole, the whole manhole and cover, and Bob Zach was one of the guys that came out, and they're very professional. Our DPW, we should be very proud. Our DPW, all of our services, and I'm not just singling guys out, I'm just singling the guys that I've worked with in the last few weeks. But the DPW, the construction code department, and the engineering department, those are the three departments that I work very closely with on a pretty frequent basis. And they're very professional, the most professional in Union County. I'll put them against anybody, and I've dealt with them all. And anything you need, they take care of it immediately. And I just want to say that they do not get recognized enough, but I want to recognize them personally and publicly. And that's really all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Principal. I'd like to call up Edward Schwartz.
Good evening. Edward Schwartz, 322 Birch Drive, Roselle, New Jersey.
Can you speak into the microphone, please? Speak a little bit into the microphone.
Sorry, I'm not used to this. I sent an email to as many members of the council as I could. You have a problem with your red camera lights. I'll explain what it is. I received a ticket about a year ago, and in 42 years of driving, I never got a ticket for running a red light. So I said, I'm not like a light beater type of guy. I'm the type of guy, the old guy, that you honk at to get moving. So I investigated it, and there's a minimum standard you have to have your yellow lights at, and an application that you have to file to install a red light camera. I got a ticket on Route 1 on Stiles Street. Speed limit's 45 miles an hour. In the application to install a red light camera, you need a 5-second yellow at 45 miles an hour. On Route 1 South, you got 35 miles an hour, you need a 4-second yellow. So the ticket listed a 3-second yellow light. Now, Mr. Brown and Mr. Cosio were kind enough to respond to my emails, and I really appreciated it. And my emails probably weren't that nice. There was nothing really rude in them, but they weren't that friendly. And I appreciate you gentlemen responding. Okay, so under Oprah, I applied to the city of Linden for your application for a red light because you have to list. The application's about 12 pages long, but I have 1 page of it.
Okay.
You have to list the length of your yellow lights. The city clerk sent me my money back, says we don't have a copy. Now, wait a minute. This is an important application. Would you just make one and send it to the state and then throw it out? I don't know. So I sent $100 to the state, but I didn't send it to the right department. I got the money back. I was found not guilty in court of this red light ticket, but guess what? Your red lights were turned off for a while and supposed to be recertified. I got another ticket in the mail, same thing, 3-second amber over a period of 1 year. You haven't corrected this. Now, the town of Glassboro had to void 12,000 red lights tickets. I'm going to be the lead defendant in a class action suit against the city of Linden. So I spent 9 hours in court for the first ticket, and I'll spend another 9 hours in court, but I'm semi-retired. Most people just have to pay these tickets. You cannot break the law to enforce the law. Do you know what controls the amount of time a yellow light should be set? the laws of physics. At 45 miles an hour, a car travels 70 feet in 1 second. There's something called the time of decision, which you've all felt as you're driving. When that light turns yellow, you have to make a decision to step on the brake. First, you go 3/4 of a second to see it with reaction time of a 17-year-old. I'm 60, I don't think I'm that fast. Then you have to decide. See, you can't stop a car in time. That's why the State Department of Transportation sets up these standards. Your application couldn't have passed if you had 3 seconds on it. You couldn't produce it. So, you know, after the first ticket, I was all excited, but then when I was found not guilty, I kind of lost interest in it. But I'm semi-retired, very interested. There's an article in the paper today, ACLU sued against Oprah State Police. They won't reveal their promotion practices. You wouldn't reveal.
Mr. Schwartz, 1 minute. You have a minute.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you letting me talk because I'm not even from Linden. I used to own property here and I love the town and I shop here, but if anyone's interested, I made copies of this. I'm going to leave them here if any council members like. Especially appreciate Mr. Brown and Mr. Posio responding to me. It's very kind of you, especially since I'm not a Linden resident. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Mr. Henry Mack? Five minutes, Mr. Mack.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Mr. President of City Council, Mr. Sheehan, I brought to say I personally want to thank you for granting me the opportunity to carry your condolence from you and your family and the members of City Council to the family that we lost last month. I want to piggyback off of what you just said a few minutes ago in reference to 18th Street, which will be coming up, I believe, tomorrow night and Thursday. I respectfully ask you to meet with the mayor and the chief and make sure that we do from 18th Street to our location, that you will meet with the chief, that we will be properly escorted to our destination, if you will. If you will. Thank you. In addition to that, if you will, I'm very impressed with the way I have seen things go down Linden on Wood Avenue. And I need to say, Eli Johnson, we dropped the ball, one ball. We didn't drop the whole ball, dropped one ball. And the community asked me to tell you, that they were grateful that how they fixed the problem. Eli Johnson fixed the problem immediately because his concern was to get those kids to school. But we dropped the ball in getting it set up because we shut Wood Avenue down. But Eli Johnson fixed it along with his supervisor. They fixed it fast, quick, and in a hurry. That the community wanted me to tell you that they were very pleased with the way that project turned out. And the people that own businesses, they are very impressed with the way the street look. One sad note that I took notice that, in the, looking at it here, it says 356. The peoples asked me to bring to you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, and council members. They said no. We do not take a human being that belongs to humanity. You don't do that. Absolutely against the rule. Against mankind, you don't do it. It's absolutely against the rule. The way we had developed in Linden, the way we had been raised in Linden, we do not do that. It's absolutely against the rule. You do not take a hero that the people said they loved. They grew in love with him. They didn't fall, watch the language. They didn't fall in love with him. They grew in love with him. They grown in love with the chief and his staff. They have grown in love with him. And I respectfully submit to you, Mr. Mayor, and City Council, President of City Council, and you honorable members, do not disrespect the community. They said they grew in love with him. They didn't fall in love with him. They grew in love with him. The story is over with. They said no, and they mean it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Pat Hero?
Pat Hero, Wheat Chief Road. I appreciate the mayor's emptying the garbage cans at the September to Remember. That's true public service, and I do appreciate it. It is now 9:27, and I still don't know when Councilman Peter Brown's biography will appear on the city's website, and no report. I think that's 3 times in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, this past Sunday, I was watching TV 36 replay of the August City Council meeting. Between 2:45 and 2:50 p.m., the broadcast went off the air without the public comment section. And I was told by someone that this happened at the 1 a.m. broadcast also. Now, normally don't watch the shows, don't really like seeing myself. But, however, people do like to see the public comment portion. I mean, it's as much a portion of the city council meetings as hearing you speak. So I don't know why these things are not being broadcast. It wasn't they were interrupted for another show. They just had announcements of various things. They certainly could have, I thought, broadcast the whole city council meeting. So I'd like someone to investigate why it has not been shown in the full council meeting thing and get back to us on that. Now, I want to address what Councilman Armstead spoke about at the July council meeting. In response to the tragic murder of Amber Wilson, and I do, still feel horrible about that, and I do hope that they catch her killer and that he is brought to justice. I know he's going to be brought to justice, whether the judicial system deals with him or whether God's judicial system deals with him. He will be brought to justice. But however, Mr. Armstead suggested that the residents could install cameras on their houses. To paraphrase, maybe he wants to adopt this as a campaign slogan, a chicken in every pot and a camera on every house. Well, as the ACLU said in What's Wrong with Public Video Surveillance, a 2005 study for the British Home Office found that cameras did not cut crime or the fear of crime. Now, of course, Councilman Armstead said, of course, civil libertarians might object, but they don't care about crime. Well, I can't speak for all civil libertarians. I can speak for this one. This is the anniversary, the 25th anniversary of when I was published in comparative constitutional law. So I'm just going to detail what happened to me before 1987. Maybe you don't know this, and we're going to know more about me tonight than we're going to know about Councilman Brown. However, I grew up knowing two grandparents. I didn't know my grandfather. My mother told me what happened to my grandfather.
Ms. Hero, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Fact is, my grandfather died as side effects of a mugging. I never knew him. He died before I was born. I grew up knowing that. The day I took the LSAT, I opened the Washington Post to find out that someone who I knew from work at GW, Dr. Michael Halberstam, had been murdered. I was in the same room with the victim of an assassination attempt in 1978. The assassination attempt didn't take place in 1978, but I was in the same room with Ronald Reagan. In 1980, when Ronald Reagan was the assassination attempt took place, I was working for George Washington University. And that's where he was brought, to the hospital. And when I was visiting a friend of mine who was at GW Hospital, I happened to see James Brady, Ronald Reagan's press secretary, walking down the hall. I saw the effects of what took place at the assassination attempt, personally. I think that establishes enough crime credibility. And in 1987, and all these events took place before 1987, I am still a civil libertarian because there's something precious and unique about our country, and we cannot forget our civil liberties. We must defend the Constitution before we become like the Soviet Union, to only have a paper constitution, one in which the words are there, but the enforcement is not. I worry about our country. And I want to close with a paraphrase quote from Benjamin Franklin.
10 seconds.
Those who would trade liberty to obtain security deserve neither liberty nor security. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. The following council meetings will be as follows. Council conference meeting Monday, October 15, 2012 at 6 p.m. in the Council Conference Room, City Hall, 301 Northwood Avenue. Council conference meeting prior to the council meeting, Tuesday, October 16, 2012, 6 p.m. in the Council Conference Room, City Hall, 301 Northwood Avenue. Council meeting Tuesday, October 16, 2012 at 7 p.m. in the Council Chambers, City Hall, 301 Northwood Avenue. I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. Second.
Mr. Colbus?
Yes.
Koziel?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Crosby Hurling?
Yes.
Sadowski? Sheedy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yamakitis?
Yes.
Frazier? Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.